Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Climate Wednesday. And today we are going to be discussing climate finance as well. We're going to be talking a lot around access to climate funds for women in Africa. And our guest today is going to be sharing a lot of the work they are doing and how they are impacting and helping local women to drive financing for their mitigation and adaptation programs. And is also helping us to channel our conversation towards COP26 as we are looking forward to what our leaders, African leaders, are going to be doing in COP and what are we going to be saying and what campaign are we going to be talking about. So today I'll be bringing on board our speaker. She's going to be giving us a lot around this conversation. So join me and welcome Ms. Titilope Akosa. Welcome, ma. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. How are you?
Thank you very much, ma. A little bit about our speaker today. She is a lawyer, she's a researcher and women climate justice advocate. And she has been doing this for many years, close to 20 years now, as a climate justice advocacy, women rights, gender equality, environmental sustainability, and stakeholders engagement, and even accountability and inclusive participation from ground up. So welcome today, Ma, to our conversation on another edition of Climate Wednesday. So, moving forward, Ma, can you tell us about yourself a little bit and what you
Yeah,
do?
you have already told the world a bit about me, but let me just add that my name is Titilope Ngozi Akosa. I'm the Executive Director of Center for 21st Century Issues. I am also the GCF Gender Monitor for Anglophone Africa. So I'm glad to be here this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ma. Thank you for sharing that. I also want to say that if you are watching from anywhere across the world, today's edition is targeting towards access to climate finance and for women in Africa. And we hope that you will sit back and enjoy this conversation. So, Ma, moving forward, what is climate finance to you, and how do you explain climate finance to even local or rural women that we are looking at
Yeah,
supporting? Thank you.
for local rural women, where you talk finance, finance is about money, nothing more. So when we are talking about climate finance, we are talking about money for adaptation and mitigation, money to respond to the impacts of climate change, money for loss and damages, money for capacity building around climate change, and money for a whole lot of climate actions that men and women are undertaking on the ground. So that is what climate finance means in a simple language.
Thank you very much, ma. For a lot of people that have been watching us for the couple of weeks or couple of months, we have also been talking about climate finance. And I think this definition also shows that climate finance is talking about money, money, money for mitigation and adaptation. So moving forward, man, given the extent of struggles and barrier local women are confronted with in responding to climate impact, how can climate finance address these issues?
First of all, we must understand that climate change is a woman's issue because researches and reports from various areas of the world have shown that women are more impacted by the impacts of climate change than men. And why? It is because they work predominantly in climate dependent sectors. The area of food and agriculture, women are also dominant there. We know, I think about 60% of women around the world are engaged in agriculture. And the kind of agriculture they're involved in is subsistence agriculture, and we know what that means as opposed to mechanized farming. And it means that women toil a lot on their land. They also depend on the climate. They depend on organic agriculture. They depend on agroecology. And those are the kinds of agriculture we practice. And those are very, very much dependent on climate. So if we have irregular rainfall patterns, or we have too much rainfall, it's going to affect what we are planting. And once we lose it, it means that to provide food for our family is going to be a challenge. To take care of our children is going to be a great challenge because whether we like it or not, putting food on the table in the home is our exclusive uh, domain. So whether even it is men that are also much involved in agriculture, we still get the harvest and cook it for the family. So once there is no food to be put on the table, you understand that goes directly to women, because it's going to be very hard for us to feed our children. And climate change is impacting agriculture at such a high rate that our adaptation cannot even cope with it. That is one aspect of it. When it comes to water, we know that water scarcity is also can be traced to the impacts of climate change or intrusion of salt water into fresh water when we have sea level rise and a host of things. And when the water that we need to take care of our family, to make them clean, to make them look good, to maintain the highest standard of hygiene in the home is not there. How do we take care of our family? How do we address the issue of hygiene in the home? How do we ensure that the whole home is cleaned, the kind of water we use to cook our food so that our children will not have diarrhea or any other health challenges is okay, then this is our area. We need to ensure that we have water in the home, and not only that we have water, and the water we have is portable. So if there's going to be scarcity of water, where do we get the water? Who are the people that goes to fetch the water? It's also women and girls. And you see how it's going to affect us. So if there's no water, it's not going to be easy for our children to take their bath and go to school on time. So it means that part of the time for them to do other important issues, they'll have to go fetching water to ensure that there's water in the home, there's water for them to take their bath, and there's water for them to use for cooking. So if there's challenges around water that is caused by climate change, it affects us. So there are other health implications also. For instance, diseases that are inspired from the animal kingdom, zoonotic diseases, if they jump into the human kingdom and our children become very sick, and we know that some of these zoonotic diseases are as a result of deforestation, because when deforestation happens, a lot of animals lose their habitats in the forest. And when people lose their habitat, it's so normal. When a human being loses his own shelter, he will find shelter elsewhere. So the same thing happens to animals. If they are displaced as a result of deforestation, they might find another habitat inside the human environment. So opportunity for diseases to jump from the body of the animals to the human body is created in that area. So when that happens and our children are sick, who takes care of them? Who ensure that things are fine? Who is that woman that understands the health issues in the community that will actually raise an alarm and bell that something is happening? It is we women. So we take care of our husbands, we take care of our children when they are sick as a result of climate induced sickness. Because whether you like it or not, some of these zoonotic diseases are climate induced. And we must really need to understand them the way it is. So these are the way we are challenged in every aspect of the way we live. And whether we like it or not, as women, as we are struggling, our children too are struggling with us, even our husbands too are struggling with us. So we are faced with these challenges. And how do we deal with these challenges? We need finance. If your children are sick, you need money to take them to the hospital. If there's no water in the house, even if you have to go and buy water, then you need funds to buy water. That is a way of adaptation. If there is no, if it's water scarcity that is inspired by climate change. So if it
Thank
is
you.
what they call it, lack of food that is inspired by climate change, if you need to get food from elsewhere, then you need money, you need resources, even you need so many things. So whether we like it or not, money, finance is very critical for climate action, for us to not only to respond, but to adapt and mitigate climate change.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Money is very needed to respond, not only to respond, but to adapt to climate change. And I'm very happy you also mentioned that agriculture, water, and other related health issues and which I think is one of the great conversation that we're having today, and the importance of women in our community. And it's also reminding us that nature is calling, and it's a very important thing that we need to start talking about. Thank you very much, man, for that. So moving forward, and everybody is running up and down, preparing, getting things done ahead of COP26, and discussion will be centered around climate finance, as you just said, that we need money, we need financing for developing countries. What is your advice for developed countries in terms of fulfilling these pledges?
Well, my advice is that whether they like it or not, they have to fulfill those pledges. Those pledges are not there for the sake of being there. They are not just words that don't carry power. They must allow those pledges to come back into a concrete form in terms of finance in the hands of those that need it. Because the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change says that developed countries who have caused climate change have the responsibility to help those who have not caused climate change, that is, the developing countries who have not caused climate change, to adapt and mitigate the impacts of climate. It's primarily their responsibility to provide the funds, the finance to adapt and mitigate the impacts of climate change. Having said that, it now means that developed countries must own up to their responsibility. Not only owning up to their responsibility, they must ensure that the delivery of the $100 billion yearly must come into stream. What do I mean by that? Years back, the developed country has promised and pledged that they will deliver up to 100 billion per year to adapt and mitigate climate change, and delivery to the developing countries. We have been on this for a very long time, and some of the pledges says that delivery must be by 2020, and the 100 billion we are talking about is just a small fraction of the total amount that we need to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Now, we are saying by 2020, it means that after 2020, there should be additional money on top of the 100 billion. But as we speak, we are yet to realize this 100 billion per year. We are in 2021. When do we want to make sure that this pledge become a realistic thing for everybody to say, okay, this money has been delivered, this is what we have been able to use it for, and this is what we need more moving forward? We have not seen that. Rather, we have seen a renege in pledges. What do I mean by renege? It means that rather than concentrating on that pledge, for that pledge to be an additional finance that has been mobilized, rather they are now rechristening and recalibrating some finance in terms of aid and calling it climate finance. We need additional funding apart from the normal aids that we normally get. It is the additionality that we're asking for. So whether you have been doing official development assistance or not, it is immaterial. On top of your ODA, you must add the real climate finance, which is an addition to official development assistance. It's not for you to rechristen of official development assistance as climate finance. So these are very important things. And we have also heard that leading to this COP26, that some developed countries have come together and said they want to give us a delivery plan, a plan to deliver on the 100 billion. And we are saying it is a welcome development. We appreciate it, we like it, and we want to believe this is a step towards ensuring that they fulfill their pledges. But delivering this plan for us is not the end of it. You cannot want to deliver money to us on your own terms. We need to be part of that consultation. We need to tell you how this money will also deliver climate justice to us. Because delivering money that does not lead to climate justice, as far as I'm concerned, it's like not delivering any funds at all. It is dead on arrival. So if
Thank
there's a
you.
plan to deliver the 100 billion, then we must be part of the negotiations. We must be part of the discussion. We must tell them how we want the money to go, how the kind of delivery plan that will help us to meet the ends of climate justice. And that is what we want. We welcome the delivery plan. But that delivery plan, without our voice, without our issues and concerns taken on board, and without telling them how this money will go, to me, it's not going to work. We have to be part of that plan. We all deliver it together, and the whole world will see that this money has been delivered.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. 100 billion must be delivered by the developed country, and the delivery plan must we must be part of it. Most especially, let me be
Yes,
specific. Women must be part of the planning, the process, and the implementation, which is very,
yes,
very important because they've promised. You mentioned that it's supposed to be 2020, but we're in 2021 now, and we are still talking about the 100 billion per year. And if this finance, this funding can come to us or come to the developing country, a lot of women will be able to tap into this finance and use it for their adaptation and mitigation programs. Thank you very much, Ma, for that very good submission. So let's move forward to listen to some of the great work that Center for 21st Century have been doing. Your leadership has been at the forefront of campaigning for access to climate finance for local women in the past years. How would you rate the impact and success story recorded so far, especially in Nigeria and looking at other African country levels? Thank you, ma.
yeah. For us in Nigeria, we have started with mobilizing women because our focus basically is with women. And as we were mobilizing women, other civil society actors also have been joining us because a lot of people said that they don't know much about climate finance. And now we have also added green finance into the cards because there is climate finance and there is green finance. If we look at all the finances, all of them is talking about sustainability, all of them is talking about green, and to ensure that we transit to a green society. I wouldn't call it green economy because if we say a green society, we are not emphasizing on market-based mechanism. We are emphasizing on how all of us will be each other's brother's keeper and ensure that whatever we do, it's also looking at transiting from the dirtier part of development to the greener part of development in a very sustainable way and in a way that is inclusive, not in a way that is exclusive, where people prioritize profit over the planet and over the people that are in the planet. So it's very, very important that we take those into consideration. So what we are doing is we mobilize women around climate finance, we build their capacity for advocacy at the local level and for the international level. We make them to engage with the national designated authority, that is the authority that is responsible for all financial flows that are coming into the country. They are the one that will put our proposals. They are the one that will ensure that we have a national implementing entity and direct access entities that will collect the funds. They are the one that will talk to international accredited entities that want to implement projects in Nigeria and ensure that all these proposals align with our country priorities. So we have been talking to them and they have welcomed women. They have listened to us and we are part of the process of climate finance and the Green Climate Fund in Nigeria. And for us, we have done about I think 4 workshops. Last year we did 3 and this year we have done 2 and we have been engaging the NDC and all of them, the NDA has been part of it. They have been working with us. We have also enlisted the proposed direct access entities for Nigeria. We have the Israel, we have the Development Bank. They've spoken to us. They even told us the level at which they are in terms of their accreditation with the GCF. And we have also decided to work with them to raise our voices at the GCF level to ensure that they respond to them quickly so that whatever funding that we may be asking for, it will come to the country and we as women also are going to benefit. We are also in discussions with them to ensure that they also get a gender expert to ensure that gender is mainstreamed into all the processes because these are the building blocks for us. If we don't have those building blocks set, it means that when funding comes, women may not be part of it I mean, they may not benefit from it. And to that
Right.
extent, we've been able to do that. We have put the solid foundation there so that whatever happens, when the money comes, our women will benefit from it, because Nigeria is still going through that process. And so we follow them through with the process. At the African level, we have country gender monitors. We have about 8 of them now. I think Cameroon, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Ghana, and Mozambique. So we have them, and they are doing tremendous work at the local level, mobilizing their women to engage with their national designated authority and ensure they open up the space for women to benefit from climate finance flow that is coming into their country. They need to advocate to ensure that gender issues are taken on board, they are there to advocate. If they need to ensure that proposals that prioritize gender on the table, they are there. And we ensure that the gender policy of the Green Climate Fund and the action plan of the Green Climate Fund is respected at the local level. And what does that mean? It means that in every process of climate finance and the Green Climate Fund, women must be part of the process. And that is what we've been able to do. And so to that
Thank
extent, if
you.
we have about 8 in Africa, it means that people are working on ground, and we work on ground, we push also to the international level, where we have the Central GCF Observer, where we put all our concerns together as interventions at the board meetings of the Green Climate Fund. Thank you.
Wow, that is interesting. If you are watching anywhere across the world presently, you will see that the great work that Center for 21st Century Issues are doing on women when it comes to climate fund for women is very, very, powerful. And I'm very sure that a lot of you will want to connect and create a network or a conversation with them. So please try as much as possible, connect with them on social media. They are on Twitter with Center, that is C21 Century, C21 ST Nigeria, and you can also check them also on Facebook and all other platforms they are presently. They are doing very well. They've talked to us about the advocacy for climate justice project they are working on. They've talked about the women, that women must not only be at the forefront but also be part of implementation. They've also talked about the direct access entity and other related activities they are doing. They have been able to run close to 5 to 6 workshops, which those are the ways to empower and make women on the local level more informed. And the African gender monitor activities they're also looking at with different countries. I think with this, a lot of opportunities for women will continue to strive in the space when it comes to Africa. Thank you very much, ma. As we're running,
You're
let me
welcome.
quickly also ask this. So far, so good. How would you rate the mainstreaming of gender into the UNFCCC processes and the global climate change agenda, especially with women voices being recognized and addressed?
Yeah, well, I would say concerning the UNFCCC, it's a work in progress. And for every year and every day, we'll continue to deepen that conversation and the actions at the UNFCCC level. We started with Lima work program, and from Lima work program, we progressed to gender action plan, and where we were doing in-session workshops for negotiators to understand what climate and gender means and what they can do at the level of negotiations and at the level of their countries. We moved to a situation where we have the gender action plan, yeah, and after the gender action plan, we have an updated gender action plan, which is about 5 years. And by the time we are going to COP26 now, we should be having an updated gender action plan, including new activities that will lead us up to ensure that the Paris Agreement, the spirit of the Paris Agreement, which is encapsulated in the declaration um, of the Paris Agreement before the first Article 1, which says that the Paris Agreement must respect gender equality, intergenerational equity, and the rights of indigenous people. So these are important aspects of the principles of the Paris Agreement, which
Thank you.
we are moving forward with the updated gender action plan. So the discussions are being deepened, and not only that the action plan are being implemented at the level of the UNFCCC, we are also seeing that that action plan is going down to the countries, to the country level, where we have the countries now appointing gender focal points, ensuring that the letters of the gender action plan are being implemented at the local level. And we also see at the UNFCCC level, we have a gender team. They've recruited a gender expert into the UNFCCC, and they've been organizing and mobilizing around gender so that important decisions are being taken around gender. And women within the women gender and gender constituency also rally around the UNFCCC to ensure that they have a robust gender decisions that will work for women and our local communities at large. So it's a work in progress, and I'm sure as we
Thank you.
continue to deepen the conversation, we'll continue to record major successes around gender issues in the UNFCCC. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very important that and the mainstreaming of gender into UNFCCC processes is a very strong message as we're also moving to COP. And like what you said, they've tried, and we are looking forward to see more of what your organization and what other women organization will be doing in making sure that emphasis on women participation in the UNFCCC processes. Thank you so much, Ma. And let us move on as we end this conversation. At COP, this is a very quick response from you. What advocacy and campaign will your organization be leading at the global level? And why? Now, how do you intend to project this campaign to the world leaders and other climate activists?
Yeah, on the road to COP26, our organization, especially at the African level, we are leading a campaign titled Women for Climate Finance. And when we mean women for climate finance, we're also particularizing it to African women for climate finance because our issues are peculiar. Africa is a continent that has been denied a lot of climate finance. And we are saying that within Africa, women are the most affected and they need the climate finance on their hands, and they are the front lines of climate change impact. So we need the finance to adapt, to mitigate, and help our families to be able to stand all the challenges that climate change is bringing our way. So as we go, we have a social media advisory, and we are going to be launching this campaign. And part of this podcast we are appearing in is part of the launching of that campaign, which is going to happen on Wednesday. So as we take the lead on Wednesday and send our advisory, we are also talking to our women on the ground. The women are being mobilized right now to send in their codes, as we are going to deliver their codes to the world leaders when we get to Glasgow. This is what local women are saying. They are saying they need money. Money has to go down to the ground. Money needs to get into the hands of those who need it the most. And if this money is not getting to where it is, even the small amount of money that they are releasing bit by bit, which is not up to the 100 billion, must get into the hands of those who need this the most. Not only that, they use those money, that money must meet the end of climate justice for us, because you can release money in an unfair way and it does not meet the end of justice. So for us as women, we are looking at it. Not only that we need money to adapt, we also need money to mitigate. And when we are talking about mitigation for women, mitigation is not just any technology to reach to net zero. And that's why the word net zero is so very, very funny to us. We are looking for a low emission technology, a technology that does not pose risk and harm to us as women that bear children. We are looking at all the options and solutions on the table. We women have demonstrated severally that we have solutions that are very important, solutions that help us to live peacefully and healthy, not solutions that add to the burden of our problems, not solutions that is even going to bring more unhealthy issues into our bodies. A lot of us saw what happened during the COVID pandemic, and the pandemic is still on. And that pandemic has dealt with us so much. And that is why, as women, we are asking for genuine solutions, not just greenwashing, not just technology that will pose risk to us. We need technology that is renewable, that is clean and will help us to continue to live on earth peaceably. And that is what we are calling for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just so that our listeners are hearing, they are officially launching this today, and it's called Women for Climate Justice or Climate Finance, ahead of COP26. And it is not only launching of Nigeria, it's across Africa. And as you all know, watch out for the Center for 21st Century social media platform and other women gender organizations that's going to be doing this along with them, moving towards COP26. So watch out for the Women for Climate Finance. This is going to be a very strong campaign, advocacy that is going to drive more information, more funding sources, more opportunities for women in the local communities, and not only at the forefront, but also helping them to be part of implementation and getting that right money to the hand of the people that actually need the money. Thank you very much for that. And I also look forward to the launching of this during COP and how we're going to be driving this conversation ahead of COP26. Ma, as we end this call, it is in our culture that we want to listen and want to hear from our speaker that what is your advice for African leaders and governments, CSOs, and research institutes towards access to funding for women? What is going to be that your strong message? Just one key message to our
My key
African leaders.
message to all African leaders is that they must prioritize gender issues when it comes to climate change. Because if we don't prioritize gender issues, it means that women risk being left behind on our road to meeting the SDGs. And we cannot afford to leave half of humanity behind. It is unjust, it is unfair if because of finance, women are left behind. Women need
Thank you
to
very
be
much.
part of the movement. And money must
Thank
flow
you very
into
much.
our hands to be able to take care of our families and adapt to the impact of climate change. So our leaders in Africa, they should also speak out for climate finance. And once the finance is in their hands, they must prioritize women and gender issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm very happy that we were able to have you today on another edition of Climate Wednesday. And your submission you said to this afternoon was that African leaders should prioritize gender issue, and the women actually need that financing, that funding in their hands to work on mitigation or adaptation programs. And I'm very, very sure that as we move towards COP26, the campaign towards women for climate finance will be a very strong agenda for African leaders to see that there's need for women to be part of this conversation, part of this process and the implementation. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope and look forward to what Center for 21st Century will be doing in COP26 as we go for COP26. Thank you so much, and have a lovely afternoon, evening, and day.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for having me. I really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Today, another edition of Climate Wednesday. It has been a very long day for us and a long week of conversation for the road to COP26. And I'm very happy we're able to have our mother, our auntie, the gender expert, Miss Titilope Akosa. She has been able to share a lot with us on this issue of access to finance, access to climate funds for women in Africa. And if you are just watching this, you can rewatch again on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And we look forward to have you for our last edition for this month as we talk about road to COP26. But today's conversation has been a very, very important conversation. And this conversation was actually supported by African Women Development Fund and the Center for 21st Century. I wish you all a great afternoon, a great evening, and a great morning. Watch out for the Women for Climate Finance campaign that is going to be launching very, very soon. And see you all in COP26. Bye.